They told me I didn't belong in first class, just like that, without a second thought, without a shred of respect. My name is Marcus Ellis, CEO of a thriving tech company, someone who spent decades building a career from the ground up. But none of that mattered when I stood at that airport gate. I had a first-class ticket in my hand, yet a young airline attendant looked me up and down and flat out refused to let me board where I paid to sit. "You have to go to economy," she said, like I was some kind of mistake. The sting wasn't just about losing a seat. It was the raw, unmistakable message. You are not welcome here. And from wherever you're watching this, stay with me. Have you ever been judged before anyone even gave you a chance? Have you ever felt invisible in a room where you should shine? That moment wasn't just about me. It was about a system that still judges people by the color of their skin, not their worth or achievements. But I refused to stay silent or accept the humiliation quietly. What happened in the next 5 minutes would shock everyone. It wasn't just a personal victory. It was a reckoning for the airline, the staff, and anyone who's ever faced discrimination masked as policy. Because sometimes standing your ground changes everything, and sometimes justice comes faster than you expect. This is my story. The day a black CEO was denied first class, and the moment the entire airline staff got fired just 5 minutes later. Let me take you through exactly what happened, why it matters, and how one simple act of courage sparked a powerful wave of change. The day I faced outright rejection at the airport will stay with me forever. Not because of the humiliation, but because of what happened next. A moment that changed my life and the lives of everyone involved. My name is Marcus Ellis. I am the CEO of a successful tech company, a man who's worked hard to get where I am. But on this particular morning, none of that mattered. I arrived at the airport early, ready for a long flight to a business conference in New York. I checked in smoothly, got my boarding pass, and headed to the lounge like I usually do when flying first class. I had earned that seat, the comfort, the respect that should come with it. But when I reached the gate, a young attendant stopped me cold. She looked me up and down with a skeptical expression and said, "Sir, your ticket doesn't qualify for first class. You'll have to take your seat in economy." I was stunned. I showed her my boarding pass again. "This is a first-class ticket," I said calmly, but she just shook her head and repeated, "No, sir, you need to go to economy." The line behind me started to grow and people were watching. I felt their eyes, a mix of curiosity and judgment. My heart pounded, not because I was nervous about flying, but because of the blatant disrespect. I asked to see a manager. They sent over a man in a cheap uniform who barely glanced at my ticket before saying, "We don't have any seats left in first class. Please cooperate." The way he said it made it clear this wasn't about seats. It was about me, because I was a black man, because I didn't fit the airline's idea of who belongs in first class. For a moment, I considered walking away, taking another flight, but something inside me refused to accept this injustice silently. I pulled out my phone and called the office. I told my assistant to alert the legal team and our PR department. This wasn't just about me. It was about standing up to discrimination. The attendant who refused me the seat was still there, watching, maybe smug. I asked again, "Can you please confirm with your supervisor? I have a valid first-class ticket, and I expect to be treated accordingly." Her face tightened, and she called someone on her radio. That's when I decided to go live on social media. I switched on my phone's camera and started streaming the encounter, narrating what was happening. "This is Marcus Ellis, CEO of Ellis Tech. I'm being denied my first-class seat by this airline because of the color of my skin. Let's see what happens next." Within minutes, the video began to get attention online. Viewers started sharing, commenting, and expressing outrage. The story was no longer just about a man at a gate. It was about systemic bias in a world where equality should be a given. Meanwhile, airport security arrived. The airline's manager tried to calm things down, but the live stream made it impossible to sweep under the rug. The airline's reputation was at stake. Then came the call from the CEO of the airline, a man I barely knew, but whose decision would change the course of this event. After reviewing the situation, he made a swift choice. All the airline staff involved in the incident were to be immediately terminated. He issued a public apology and promised a full investigation and reforms to prevent future discrimination. Back at the gate, I was escorted to my rightful seat in first class. The cabin crew apologized profusely. The atmosphere changed from tense to respectful almost instantly. I sat down, but I wasn't just a passenger anymore. I was a symbol of something bigger, a reminder that silence in the face of injustice is not an option. In the days that followed, the story exploded in the media. Interviews, articles, talk shows. My message was clear. No one should ever be treated differently because of their race or appearance. I was proud to be part of the conversation that pushed an airline to confront its own biases. But the experience also made me reflect. Success isn't just about climbing the corporate ladder or earning fancy titles. It's about integrity, standing up for yourself and others, and using your voice for change. That day, I wasn't just a CEO denied a seat. I was a man who refused to be invisible, who demanded respect, and whose quiet strength sparked a wave of accountability. The fired staff learned that actions have consequences, and the airline learned that progress requires courage. Sometimes it takes just 5 minutes to turn humiliation into triumph, and to remind the world that dignity is not a privilege reserved for a few, but a right for all.